Shalom, welcome to part 3 of Yom Kippurim. Now, as I said, finish off in part 2, that this day is all about being covered in the Spirit's garments of light, to be reclothed, so that our nakedness, our shame, our natural state is no longer visible when the Messiah returns, and that what he sees is light. And will also be protected in those garments from his awesome power, because he is returning in awesome power. I mean, those that have come against Jerusalem in that day will melt where they stand, because they're not covered in the Spirit's garments of light. And that's what we are called to do. We are then told that this is a set apart, a special assembly meeting, a summons, a calling together. The Hebrew word Kodesh has a translational meaning of special, something or someone that has the quality of being special, something or someone that has been separated out for a special purpose, or because they are special. The word comes from the root Kadash, and it means, which is Strong's number 6942, to be, make, causatively pronounce or observe as clean. It is also related to Mikdash, meaning a sanctuary. That is a place that is clean and has been set apart for a special purpose. And that's what I believe will be set up in the last days, and regarding the day of trumpets, Yom Teruah, sanctuaries that are clean and set apart, clean from all religion and all politics, clean from all the ways of man, and only run on the lines of Torah, on the instructions of Father, for the special purpose of feeding his children, clothing his children. Remember what Messiah said about to the sheep and goats. To the goats he said, you didn't feed me, you didn't clothe me, you didn't visit me, you didn't comfort me, you didn't the rest of it. And they said, he said, be gone from me, I never knew you. And they said, when did we do this? He said, when you didn't do it to the least of my children, you didn't do it to me. But to the sheep he said, you fed me, you clothed me. When I was in prison you visited me, you gave me comfort, etc, etc, etc. And the sheep said, when did we do this? And he said, when you did it to one of these, the least, the smallest, the most insignificant of one of my children, you did it also to me. And that's what the sanctuaries are for. They are to feed, clothe, give protection, comfort, and hope, not even hope, but they are to give what his children need, the least, most insignificant of his children. We are to give them what they need. That is Kodesh, that is set apart. So we see that this is to be a set apart day from all worldly, mundane things. It is a day, in a sense, we are to enter the sanctuary of the garments of our adoptive mother, the set apart and cleansing spirit of Yahuwah. It is a day of cleansing, of being made finally and fully clean, renewed. That is, our filth and shame is once and for all covered. Our filthy, shameful garments are changed, swapped out for the garments of light we get from our adoptive mother. This is the special day, the one and only set apart day, the 6th step to Father's sanctuary, his home, his place of safety, his eternal home. Now the next word to consider is Mikra. A Mikra is a called out assembly meeting, an event, a coming together for a specific purpose. It comes from the root kara, which means to read, recite, proclaim, and it also means to read from the scroll. So on this special day, this special set apart day, it's a day of cleansings, of coverings, and of reconciliation, but it's a day also for the reading and reciting of his words, to understand what this day is all about until the final fulfillment comes. We need to understand all of his 7 steps of 7-step plan of salvation. Now, each one has a specific fulfillment, and 3 are yet to be fulfilled. Now, I can't see them fulfilled in the next few years, but we must keep them as best we can in order to understand them. So when the final day comes, that this is pointing to in prophecy, we will be ready and we will understand what it's all about. And we will be able to answer and respond to our spiritual mother, to be covered in her garments of light. You know, if we keep this day, we answer the call. If we answer this call, in a sense, every year, to learn its prophetic value, then on that one special Yom Kippurim, on that one special day, just before his return, we will literally be ready to answer and respond to the call of our adoptive mother at his awesome return. I, for one, want to be ready. I don't know about anyone else, but I really do want to be ready, and I want to help as many other people be ready as I can, as my own limited ability allows. Okay, it shall certainly exist. This is translated like this because the word is yeh. This is the first person of Haya, and it means to be, to exist, to come to pass, But this is rendered in the imperfect mood, meaning it's a continual action, or a continual and unfolding consequences of the action. I mean, it can even be an unfinished action, hence the translation of continual existence to this day. Now, in the standard translations, we have something telling, and I'm going to read some of the standard translations at the end of the talks. Probably, I don't know if it's going to be part 4 or 5, I don't know. But in the standard translations, we have something telling, something that typifies the religious replacement of Yahuwah's words with their own words and meanings, in order to enslave the masses. And they say this: "You shall afflict your souls." The Hebrew word translated as afflict is anah, which has a primary meaning of to heed, to answer, to respond, or to answer and respond. Now, it can also mean to humble, or to be humble, but in a sense of you humble yourself to answer and respond to a summons, and you're not arrogant and proud to ignore that summons. And every time we answer a call to our wives, to whomever it is, we are humbling ourselves to answer that call, and vice versa. And that's the sense of this word. Now, we, on this day of coverings, do exactly that. We humble ourselves to answer and respond to a summons. You know, with an R having the primary meaning of to answer and respond, and if you go through the Strong's Concordance for every reference of the word of where an R is on every occasion that it's down, it's Strong's number 6031. On every occasion, you could change that definition that they have of affliction to either humble or to answer and respond, and in every account it makes more sense. Now, there are two other Hebrew words that are more accurately translated as afflict. They are zarah, which is Strong's number 6887, and it means to cramp, adversary, affliction or afflict, besiege, bind up and distress. If the Father meant for us to physically afflict ourselves, then this word would have been used, and more appropriately used, to get across his purpose or his supposed meaning of affliction. Now, the second word that is used is ra'ah, and it's Strong's number 7489, and it means to spoil, to make or be good for nothing, to afflict, to break down into pieces. This is again another word which could have been used to portray the meaning of affliction, but I believe zarah is a more appropriate for the meaning of the word affliction in this sort of case. But what does the word afflict actually mean? To be afflicted as to be in distress, with bodily or mental suffering, to be in pain, distress, misery, calamity. Distress means to be under severe pressure or strain of pain. Calamity is to be in deep distress or grievous danger. Misery is to be in a wretched state of mind and or circumstances. All of those meanings apply to the word affliction, or to afflicting yourself. And if we are to believe our accepted translations, and that includes the so-called infallible King James Version, and the old law of the rabbinical Jews and Judaism, then on this day we are to place ourselves in a state of severe calamity, into pain, suffering, anguish, into severe danger and distress. We are to become wretched in mind, body and circumstance. But worst of all these, the so-called translations of the words of Yahuwah tell us that Yahuwah himself wants us to be in this wretched state. He wants us, and if we don't put ourselves in this wretched state, then we are thrown out of the family. What sort of mighty authority, what sort of loving father wants his children to put themselves through such a calamity? I tell you this, no father I would willingly follow. You know, some say that there's some translations that say you must deny yourselves, and that this is a day of fast, and that's fast, and they're denying themselves. No. There's nothing about denying yourself within the Hebrew wording. They're trying to change it to make it sound more palatable. No, it doesn't work. Now, this condition, which religion and tradition and the traditions of men would have us put ourselves onto ourselves, is the exact opposite of what Scripture tells us. And that is to be free. Free from sin and the affliction that comes along with it. Now that's the key, isn't it? Our Father in heaven doesn't want us wretched in mind, in circumstance, in body. He doesn't want us to be in calamity, distress, severe pain, pressure, misery. He wants us to be free. What does his word tell us? You know, his words set us free. His words do not put us into a state of affliction, or his words do not say we are to afflict ourselves. His words say we are to be set free by them. Also, by afflicting ourselves, are we not going right against the whole purpose of the written word, to redeem a people, the family of Yahuwah? And wasn't the end only, to this end, wasn't there only one person that was afflicted for our benefit? That is, there was only one person afflicted to redeem the family. And wasn't that the son of Yahuwah, Yahushua, the Messiah, the anointed implement and useful tool of Yahuwah? You know, when we look at his condition on that awesome Passover in 33 CE, the day he was crucified, it was a most amazing yet a most awful day. I think he certainly fits the definition of being afflicted. He placed himself willingly for our benefit in a state of total affliction, of abject pain and suffering. He became wretched. He was in a most definite wretched state of mind and being. He cried tears in the garden. My Father, if this cup can be taken from me, but not my will be done but yours. And it was all done for our sake. That is, for us who choose willingly to walk through the Passover doorway into the family home of Yahuwah. So to say that on this day we have to afflict ourselves is akin to saying that the affliction he went through to redeem a people, a family, was simply not enough. We have to add a little top up. We have to top up the cost of redemption and affliction and afflict ourselves. We've got to add a bit more to it. And I tell you what, this idea is a total abomination to the truth and the work of the Messiah and the work of redemption. It is an affront to the very face of Yahuwah. Even to say we have to afflict ourselves a little bit, even like having a fast to deny ourselves just a little bit, it doesn't matter. How can we add anything to his finished work? If we have to add anything whatsoever, even the tiniest little fast, then we are saying his work is not finished and we have to finish it ourselves. if we have to add just that tiniest bit of affliction on this day, then we are adding to his work, which says very openly and plainly that we do not think his work was enough. It was unfinished, and we have to add that little bit more. That is an absolute abomination. It is a doctrine of works and self-flagellation. It's the opposite of what the truth actually says. No, the correct translation cannot possibly be that we have to afflict our souls on this awesome and empowering day, but instead we must answer and respond. Afflicting our souls goes against the work of the Messiah. Answer and responding supports the work of the Messiah. Not just we don't support it, but it backs it up. It fits in. We have to answer and respond to a summons to appear before the one summoning us. And there is a clear choice element here. The choice of our actions to this summons, and this choice will directly affect the step, the drawing near and approaching, and his causing us to be able to draw near and approach. That choice is, and always has been, how we respond to the whole plan of redemption, to his Torah. That his instructions, his guidelines. And we have to willingly choose out of love, not out of any merit marks or any brownie points, but we choose out of love to walk his path. If not, if we have chosen another way, then we walk the wide path. But we have to willingly choose out of love to walk his path. And if we have chosen to do so by our own volition, then he will cause us to answer and respond on this awesome day. If not, then we will die. End of story. There will be no hope. There will be no second chances when that day comes. Our choices on this awesome day will define us. We will either be respond and covered by the Spirit's garments of light in preparation for the coming Messiah, which would enable us to stand before his amazing power and brilliance, clean and unstained. But if our choices have led us to a place where we will not heed this call, this summons, then we will end up being cast off, abandoned, destroyed by his awesome power and might. It's all about choices at the end of the day, to walk his way or not. And there is nothing whatsoever from an etymological point of view that speaks about presenting an offering. Nothing. It's not about presenting an offering, it's about presenting yourself. Simple as that. Now this brings us to who and what we must approach. Ishar. Now Ishar is the feminine of Ish, which means man or male person. Now, but Ish is, in the ancient Hebrew, is exactly the same letters as the word Esh, which means fire. Now, the feminine of Esh is Eshar, and it means feminine fire. Whereas Ishar means female individual, Eshar means feminine fire. Ishar can mean female individual, woman, adoptive mother, even spiritual mother. And now the context of the passage must depict which word is used, of course. Now, we must also not forget that fire is also used as a metaphor for judgment and cleansing, as well as for the set apart spirit. So both could apply to her. Now, and the spirit is depicted in the Hebrew as feminine in nature, and so she is therefore our adoptive mother who cleanses and purifies us and elevates us unto Yahuwah. She cleanses and cleans us and covers us. Now there is also nothing in the words Eshar or Ishar that points to the meaning of making an offering of any sort. They purely mean feminine fire or female individual. And there's nothing about presenting an offering or holocaust or anything. There's different words for that. So we are to approach and draw near to either the feminine fire in order to be covered by its garments of light, that is to be covered with fire, or we are to draw near and approach a female individual in order to be covered with her garments of light, who cleanses us, who raises us up, who elevates us in regards to Yahuwah. Of course, feminine fire can lift us nowhere. No. So we are to approach our adoptive mother, the set apart and cleansing spirit. We are to answer her call on this awesome day. Now, the term in regards to Yahuwah. Now, this is the whole purpose, as well as the outcome of this most abundant day of coverings and reconciliations. It's the outcome of the previous 5 called out assembly meetings. It culminates in this one, which final culmination is in the 7th assembly, which is Sukkot, which is camping out with the Creator, or Yahusha, for 1,000 years. The purpose of today is to be covered in regards to Yahuwah, so that we can stand before him when he returns, and then we can live with him on this earth for 1,000 years. That is the whole point. That's the 7-step plan. The 7th step is camping out. The 8 days of Sukkot is camping out. And on the 8th day is a day of new beginnings, where there's a new heaven and a new earth. Verse 28 goes on to tell us, "And you shall not do or perform any work of the heavenly messenger." Now, the first word to look at here is asa, meaning to perform a function, work at something, to do, accomplish, to labour at, etc. Okay, so far the next word that we need to consider is the word often translated as work, and it is malakah. Now, if you put this together with SR, these are often, which are then together, are often translated as ordinary work, which totally misses the point at best. At the worst, it is translated as such to mislead the people. Now, the word malakah tells us of the work of a malak. A malak is an ambassador, a messenger. So it's malakah is the work accomplished by the ambassador, the messenger. Now, a malak is an ambassador or messenger who comes in the name and authority of the one sending them, be it a king, president, prime minister, emperor, or, in this case, the Creator, Yahuwah. So we have to ask ourselves this one question. Who comes in the name and authority of Yahuwah? Well, the answer is simple, isn't it? It's none other than the Messiah. That is the appointed implement and useful tool, Yahusha, the only begotten of the Creator. He is the ambassador. He is the malak, the messenger. And his work is the malakah, the work of the messenger. So, in this context, which is to me is obvious, the sending authority is none other than Yahuwah, therefore the messenger or malak is none other than the anointed implement, the useful tool, Yahusha, the Messiah. And the work he came to accomplish is the work of redemption. He came and he accomplished the work of redemption by being afflicted. And he was afflicted in the true sense of the word on that very special Passover day back in 33 CE, a day on which he opened the doorway to the very narrow path of salvation. It is a work we are specifically told not to do. We are told that we are not to attempt any work of redemption, the work of affliction. We're not to do it. Not only that, how can we do such a thing? How can we do the work of redemption? How can we do the work of the malakah, which is affliction, to be afflicted for our sakes? It's impossible. Unless, of course, you are religious. Unless, of course, you follow men and traditions. Then it's possible, I suppose. In their own minds and understanding. But in reality, they're doomed. So here we are told not to take upon us our own shoulders any of the work of the heavenly messenger, or any of the Messiah's work, his work of being afflicted. His work alone opens a doorway to salvation. No person whatsoever can add anything to it, for his work is finished, complete. So when the religious teachers, the rabbis and the leaders of the Messianic movement tell us to afflict ourselves on this awesome day, they are in fact telling us that the Messiah's work, well, the rabbis don't believe in the Messiah's work anyway, but the Messianic movement should know better, and that they're telling us that the Messiah's work was not enough and that we have to add just a little bit more to it. We've got to add a bit more affliction to it in order to accomplish the work. Why can't they see this? Whether or not they know it, whether or not they accept it, is not the point. They are teaching an abomination. They are teaching a doctrine of works, a doctrine which says we have to do something to open the doorway to salvation. They are teaching a doctrine which goes directly against this most auspicious and important instruction. And one day, unless they change, unless they get back on the straight path, they will have to pay a very heavy price indeed for such an abominable teaching. And the price we will look at very soon. Now, on this abundant and empowering day, the word etzem is a Hebrew word meaning bones, and it comes from the two-letter root etz, meaning tree. The bones of the body, the skeleton, are considered as a tree of the body, and it gives the skeleton gives it the body its strength and its power. They empower the body. Hence the meaning of strength and empowering. Also, the bones of the body are many, and hence the meaning of abundant. Also, that abundance comes into focus. So, hence a translation of abundant, empowering day. Verse 29 tells us then what will happen to souls who do not, by their own choice, respond and answer on this abundant and empowering day. It says that she, the Spirit, will respond to their choice not to answer and respond to her call on this day by cutting them completely off from her family. That's it. That's the key. She's responding to their choices. So no one else to blame. The word translated cut is the Hebrew word karath. It's Strong's number 3772. And it means to cut, a cutting down of something or someone, to destroy or consume, to cut down or asunder, to cut a covenant. And by the sacrifice of an animal, that is cutting it in two parts. And the parties to the covenant pass through the two pieces, implying that if should any of the parties break the terms of the covenant, then the same cutting will happen to them. Now this word is related to the word Karithuth. I can't excuse my pronunciations, but it means divorce, which is a cutting of the bonds of the covenant of marriage. Now, but karath is also rendered in the nifal stem, indicating that the subject of the verb, that is the ones not answering and responding, suffer the actions of the verb, and they also influence the object of the verb, the spirit, the one doing the cutting, by their own choices. So that is to say, the ones that choose not to answer and respond cause the spirit to cut them off from her family. So in effect, they cut themselves off by their own choices, and they've got no one else to blame. This is also rendered in the perfect conjugation, indicating that it is a totality and completeness of the action of the verb. So this is a complete and total cutting off and forever destroyed. This is also rendered in the third person feminine, denoting her. That is a set apart and cleansing spirit. Hence the translation, she will completely cut them off due to their own choices. This brings us to the question, who is she? Who is the her from her family? Again, the context must dictate who this is. And we know that it is Yahuwah speaking. So the she must be related to Yahuwah. Also, the family we ultimately belong to, that is, if we truly walk the narrow path, is the family of Yahuwah. And that is the meaning of the name Yehudah. Those who are related to Yahuwah and belong to his family. So she must so the her, she must also be Yahuwah, but she is the feminine nature. The only feminine nature being associated with the Father is the set apart and cleansing spirit. There is no other one. There's no other feminine nature associated with Yahuwah. It's only the Spirit. There is no other being in the heavens. There is no other being on the earth who has the right or the power to be able to cut anyone off from Yahuwah's family except for her. And it is as simple as that. Now, what are we cut off, cut asunder from, or destroyed from out of? Her family. The Hebrew word translated as family is am, and it is often translated as people, and that's rightly so. But in this context, but the word can actually, so the word can also mean nation, kindred, family, compatriots, kinsmen, as in members of one's own tribe, one's own people, or direct family. And under this context, I believe we are talking about the family of Yahuwah, the reason we were created, to be part of his family. Now we come to the verse 30, where we find out what will happen to those who afflict themselves, that is, doing any of the work of the heavenly messenger, and teach others to do so by their actions on this abundant, empowering day. Now we have seen that those who do not answer and respond to the call on this particular day, they are cut off from her family, and they are cut off by her, the Spirit herself. They are cut off from the source of life by the Spirit herself. And in this cutting off from the source of life, they die, and their souls dissipate into nothingness. But for those who afflict themselves on this day, they suffer a worse fate. That is, they are cut off from her family by Yahuwah himself. And I'll read the verse again. All those souls and all the souls which continually undertake, perform and does any of the work of the heavenly messenger on this empowering, abundant day, then that soul I will completely separate and lose from the midst of her family. Notice Yahuwah is still calling it her family. So it's got to be the Spirit's family, because he is the Father. He is the spiritual father. The Spirit is our spiritual mother. They are the head of our family. And in the 10 words, the 10 commands, you shall honour your father and your mother. This is what Father's talking about there. We shall greatly honour and hold into the highest esteem our heavenly Father and our heavenly Mother. The Hebrew word translated as separate and lose is abad. And it means to separate out, to be alone, and destruction. The first two letters of the word are the Aleph and the Beit. It's a pictograph of an ox head denoting strength and power, and the Beit, which is a pictograph of the home, tent, and family. And the letter means strength of the family, which is a father, and is often translated as father. The added Dalet is a pictograph of a doorway, and means doorway to the family and home. Now, in the ancient times, the father of the family used to sit at the doorway to the tent or to the family home, protecting the family, allowing only those who belong inside and throwing out all those that do not belong. And this is the context here. And those separated out, those thrown out of their home and family, are left to wander in the wilderness for all of their lives, until they are perished or destroyed. And those separated like this lose all the protection and life which comes from the family. So now we see a picture of Yahuwah sitting at the doorway of the family home, turning away and throwing out all those that do not, or they no longer belong, like the rebellious children doing the work of the heavenly messenger, who afflict themselves and teach others to do so. And these children are turned away at the door. They are turned away at the door to the family home, to forever, eternally, as fathers eternal, wander the wilderness alone, separated, alone and separate for all eternity. They are separated out and destined to wander the wilderness of the abyss, the one-dimensional construct of time for all eternity, all time. They will spend their eternity in a place set apart for the adversary and all those that do his will and follow his lies and follow after him, who teach religion to the masses, who teach even not just by words but by their examples, and who lead many millions of souls to destruction and death. That's what awaits them. And all the souls which continually undertake and labour at any, the Hebrew word asa means to do, labour, make, manufacture, produce, and or perform. This is rendered in the Yiktol imperfect, which conveys the idea that they worked at this in the past, they work and labour at this in the present, and they will continually carry on working and labouring at this. That they will not change their perspective and carry on doing their work of the heavenly messenger, no matter how much evidence is shown to them that they are in gross error. And that's a sad thing. It's like they're blinkered, they don't want to see. The word kol means all, the totality of, any part of, any portion of. And the first time in this sentence kol is used is in the beginning, relating to any soul out of the totality of souls. So there is no exceptions here. The second time kol is used is to do with performing the work of the heavenly messenger. It tells us that any soul which continually performs or works at any part, that there is not one single tiniest portion of work that can or ever should be undertaken that belongs to the work of the heavenly messenger. That means no fasting, not even a fast in order to reflect on our lives. No. There's nothing wrong with fasting per se, but there's any other day to do it. If we are fasting on this particular day because we are to afflict our souls, and we are afflicting our souls, and we are adding to the work of the heavenly messenger. He was sent to redeem a people. We were not. He was sent to redeem a family. We were not. So all the people who say we are to afflict our souls and fast on this day and reflect on our lives are lying to us, for we are not allowed to do any such thing whatsoever. And let's face it, shouldn't every single day we live and every day we breathe be a day of reflection? Should we continually be thinking about our relationship with our Father in heaven and reflecting upon it? We shouldn't need a fast to be able to reflect. So do we need one day a year to fast and afflict and reflect on our lives? Do the other days not matter? Don't they count? Don't they count for days of reflection? I suppose if you're religious, then yes, you would have one specific day to fast and reflect and to afflict your souls. But if you are in a relationship with the Creator, then every single day will be a day of reflection. For every day we will lovingly reflect on our relationship with Him. And on no day, in any time, in any way will we afflict ourselves. Ever. Because He's done all the afflicting necessary. For it's been done to Him. Any work of the heavenly messenger in that empowering abundant day, that soul I will completely separate and lose from the midst of her family. Again we have the verb malakah, denoting the work which the envoy or ambassador does in the name of the sending authority, which in this case is Yahuwah. Usha is the one sent, the heavenly messenger, who comes to do the work set to him by the Father, the work of the heavenly messenger. Now another interesting term is Betzem. The Beit prefix denotes in, within, etc. So in this case it means in the Etzem, which means bones, substance, self, but it also means abundance, strength and empowering. The skeleton of the body gives the body its power and strength. Without it we'd be heaps of wobbling flesh wobbling about on the ground. Also there are numerous bones in the body, so they are abundant. But the interesting thing here is that the use of the bait denoting in that day. It is like saying this is a very specific day, which is being spoken of here. A particular day, a very special day. a day to take special note of, a singular, abundant and empowering day. A day in the future which is yet to come to pass, yes. But I believe this is talking about the Pacific day. The Messiah returns in power, and just before he returns we are to heed the call of our spiritual mother, come before her to be covered in her garments of light, and I believe that day was Yom Kippurim 2033. I could be wrong by a few years either way. I'm not into date setting and arguing about such things, but it's a very special day. Now we come to a warning for all those doing and labouring at the work of the Heavenly Messenger. On that Pacific day, the work on that Pacific day, he will totally and completely cut them off and separate them out, sending them to wander the abyss of time for eternity. It says, in that empowering and abundant day I will then that soul I will completely separate and lose from the midst of her family. There is no turning back from this. If we are afflicting our souls on that day, then we will be sent directly to the abyss, what Christianity calls hell, to wander lost throughout time and eternity. There will be no going past go to collect some nice things for our journey. There will be no time to pack, but we will be banished naked and ashamed for eternity. Not a nice outcome. So for me, I will never even try in any way, shape or form to do any of the work of affliction on this day. Well, what you decide to do is up to you. Me, I'm going to err on the side of caution. Now the word abad, translated as separate and lose, comes from the two-letter root bad, and it's a bait of the dalet. I think I've actually covered this. Yeah. Okay. It comes from the bait and the dalet. The bait is a pictograph of a tent and carries the meaning of tent, family or home. The dalet is a pictograph of a door, the opening of the tent, and carries the meaning of doorway to the family and home. Now going through the doorway to the family home leads either to the inside or the outside. Now the outside represents separation from the family and home, separation from the strength of the family, which in turn leads to being lost and wandering about in waste places, or to being destroyed because strength and life comes from the family and being connected to the father of the family. The added aleph in abad depicts a strong and powerful separation from the family and home. The aleph, a pictograph of an ox head, means power, strength and might, and it gives this a meaning of a powerful separation. Now with the aleph added to, if we had put the aleph at the end of the root, rendering it badal, we get the meaning of to invent something, to lie, to devise, liar. And this is exactly what the rabbis are doing. And not just them, they are doing badar, and because they are doing badar, they will be abad. And it's not just them, the leaders of the Messianic movement. They're teaching the same lies, that we must afflict ourselves on this day. And these lies lead us directly to abad, or leads them directly to abad, to be cut off, separated, and forever lost from the family and home, to wander eternal time in the abyss. You can see through the lies and deceptions of men, we become either destroyed, our souls being dissipated into nothingness at the end of our life, or we are eternally cut off, separated, left to wander the abyss forever. Or we enter into the family and home, we answer the call. Now, but the second one of those two options, the first two options, the being cut off and separated eternally, is what most religious people call hell. And this is not just death, where at the end of one's life the soul dissipates into nothingness or is destroyed. Now this is a consignment to the abyss. There's a place created on the very first day of creation. To hell was the adversary and all who would follow him. This is the one dimension of time where only the consciousness can exist, living eternally, tormented continually, either by their own regrets, knowing the eternal life they threw away because they taught the lies and deceit of religion, or they're tormented by the Pt3 and his followers. That's not a pleasant prospect. But we must remember that this is rendered in the field stem, denoting that the actions and choices of the objects of the verb, those being cut off and separated, directly influence the actions of the verb, the being cut off and separated, by the subject of the verb, Yahuwah, the one doing the cutting and separating. So what this means is very, very simple. Those being cut off and separated have no one to blame but themselves. Their own choices, their choice to deceive, their actions have led them to this most unfortunate position. And there's no coming back from that. No repentance, no reprieve. There's nothing. Nothing except eternal regret. That is a difference between those teaching the lies and those who believe on them and act upon them. One spends their eternal existence in regret, remorse and anger, etc. And the other, the sheep who follow after them, they are destroyed and their souls dissipate into nothingness. Either way, both are cut off from her family. One reinforces the fact that we are never, that is absolutely never to do work, fashion, accomplish or perform any part of the work of the heavenly messenger, for it is an eternal and perpetual prescribed statute. The Hebrew word translated as eternal perpetual is olam, and although this is often translated as forever or eternal, it literally means to be beyond the visible horizon. And in this context it means being beyond the visible horizon of time. The word olam can be used for the far distant past or for the far distant future, a time that is difficult to know or perceive. Although perpetual and eternal speaks of a continual span of time which never ends, the ancient Hebrew thought saw olam as what is beyond the horizon, what cannot be seen or known, a very distant time. The idea of eternal comes from the fact that no matter how far in time you travel, that's if you could travel in time, towards the horizon of time itself, you can never get to it. It always remains the same distance away. So no matter how fast you could travel through time, that is, again, if you could travel through time, the horizon would always stay the same distance. The only case when this would not work is when a person travels at the speed of light. Then time would not even exist. If time doesn't exist, then there's no horizon of time. And it's that simple. When you're travelling at that speed as light, it's always the eternal now. This literally means something inscribed, something prescribed, a custom as something appointed, the appointment of a specific time, function or duty. The general idea of this word gives the meaning of a prescription, and a prescription is something that is given for our benefit. Like when we go to doctors with some ailment, then if he is a good, competent doctor, he will prescribe a medicine or a remedy for that ailment that we got. Then we take that prescribed medicine and get better. It is beneficial. And that is exactly the same meaning here. This is one of Yahuwah's prescribed medicines, a prescription for a good, healthy life. And be it physical or spiritual, doesn't matter. But we have a choice to take it or not. No one can force us to take the medication that a doctor gives us. We've got to choose to do so. And no one can force to take medication, no matter where it comes from or who prescribes it, be it a doctor or the Creator. We must choose to do so. And we must remember that every single word spoken to us by Yahuwah is beneficial for us. It's a prescription for us. And we've got to choose to take them or not. If we take them, we are blessed. If we choose not to, then we curse ourselves to whatever. Prescriptions from Yahuwah are prescribed words to help us to live good, long, healthy lives in His land, in His home. Who would not choose to take these prescribed words for life? Choose to do these words and live. That's what the word tells us. Only those who believe they know better than the Creator, the arrogant, the self-righteous, the religious people of the world, they choose their own way, their own prescriptions. But they got the prescriptions of death. So we have a perpetual prescribed statute of coming together in all our generations, our dwelling places and our homes, that not one of us are to do, work out, accomplish or perform any of the work of the heavenly messenger. We are not to afflict our souls in any of our generations, homes or assemblies for all time. Verse 32, we have an interesting instruction, and people tend to use this to prove that the day starts in the evening and until the next evening, but it just completely shows they're wrong. It tells us that the day of coverings and reconciliations is to be kept from the evening portion of the 9th day until the evening portion of the 10th day, but not including the evening of the 10th day. Okay, and that makes it a 24-hour assembly if you take the day starts at dawn. But if, as I explained earlier, if the day starts in the evening, then this becomes a 48-hour assembly, because the evening of the 9th day comes before the daylight hours of the 9th day. Then this follows the evening of the 10th day, followed by the daylight hours of the 10th day. So it's not evening to evening for one day, it's evening to evening to evening. Now, it doesn't work. This is a 24-hour assembly over one day, but it's spread over those 2 days. Okay, in part 4 I'll be giving a conclusion, and also I'll be giving some of the standard translations and showing how different they are. But at the moment we have all got the choice. We can follow Father's words as he gave them to us, or we can follow the understanding and the teachings of the rabbis and the religious and the traditionalists and whatever. It's our choice. To me, this day is so important, so very, very important, and the understanding of it is so very, very important. We can toss this teaching out, or we can take it to heart and do our own study. I implore people to do their own study in these words. Find out for yourselves. But I do implore you, it's too important just to let go. It's too important not to investigate. And I implore every single one who reads the paper or listens to the talks to investigate it for themselves. Shalom, shalom. Just a little PS, little postscript. There won't be a part 4, and I'm going to end this talk here because I don't think any more needs to be said. Yahuwah's word says it all. You don't need my conclusions. You don't need my thoughts. Who am I? You don't need me to read you what the other translation says. You can find that out for yourselves. But I'll leave you with this one thought. If my understanding is right, then we will answer and respond a call in a future time. If my understanding is wrong, then my Father will show me. But I have to implore you, please, 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 do your own studies. Look at the words. Find out for yourselves and put aside any preconceived or notions and the things you've been taught in the past. Don't worry about what leaders or rabbis say. Learn it from your Father himself through his words, please. Your eternal destiny actually does. This is one of the things your destiny relies upon. Shalom, shalom.